Welcome to Tales from the Brick, where we tell the stories behind our favorite plastic bricks. I'm John, aka 8-Bit Bricks, and this week we are joined by STEM teacher, Lego Masters winner, and the most dapper Lego Masters contestant, Corey Samuels. Welcome,
Appreciate
Corey.
the introduction. Thank
Of
you.
course. We're here to, let everybody know who you are and, blow you up.
Absolutely. Corey Samuels. I always tell people I'm a kid from Jersey. That's my MO. I'm a kid who loved Lego ever since I was 5 years old. I've been building. I hate building sets when I was young because it used to frustrate me, the instructions. So I would build half the set and then the other half I would just build something totally different. That was always my thing. Lego was my comfort growing up. I didn't like playing with any other toy. It was always Lego. Um,
What other toys
Here's
are there, really?
yeah. Like at the time, GI Joe and Hot Wheels were
Yeah.
expensive to my parents, so Lego they could just go to the Salvation Army and just get like a bin of Lego for like dumb cheap, bring it over to me, and I'm fine with that. I didn't need a set, so yeah, like Lego has been part of my life. I had a dark age at a time. That was when N64 came out and Mario 64 became my life, and that was it. I
I
was
can't
playing
blame you.
video
It's a great game.
It's a great game.
It is.
But yeah, I played video games and then became an adult. Went to school, graduated, said, okay, I have to be serious now, and put away all the little kitty stuff. And I rediscovered Lego just out of necessity when Toys R Us was still around.
Yeah.
I had to go buy I was going to a baby shower and I was gonna buy a gift. And I went to Toys R Us and I discovered the Lego aisle. I was like, oh wow, like this is a Lego aisle. I didn't remember it being a Lego aisle. And then I started seeing all these new sets. I'm like, oh my gosh, Lego is like, oh, this is so cool now. And I was a big buff on cars at that time, and that was when Lego Speed Champions first came out, and I was like, oh, I'm hooked, and that got me right back into the hobby. So,
Nice. Which car was your first that got you back in?
which car? It was the from the Lego Speed. It was dang, it was one of those race cars. It was not the Ferrari. I think it was the racing Ferrari, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's what got me back in, and then I just started to gravitate more to the cars and gravitate to some of the sets. And Marvel started coming out with sets, and I started getting all those Marvel sets. And then Lego Masters came knocking. I was working for a company teaching after-school programs and summer camps, and I had posted some videos and images from the summer camp, and they reached out to me in my DM. They said, hey, we think you'll be great for the show. We've seen your stuff online. I thought it was a scam, so I totally flaked on it. Then they reached out again through email, and I looked up the person who emailed it, and I realized it was a real person from Big Brothers. And I was like, oh
wow.
Okay, this is a real opportunity. So I reached back out. They said, you need a partner. I said, I got my brother. I can't do the show and not have my brother with me. My mom will kill me. So I said, okay, got my brother on. We interviewed. We did a Zoom interview first, and then they flew us out to Hollywood. We did the in-person interview, the mock challenges and stuff like that. Flew back to Jersey. Didn't think nothing of it. They reached out and said, hey, you made it on the first season. Pack your bags. You're coming out to Hollywood. So I was like, oh, and I guess the rest was history, so to speak.
Well, we'll talk about Lego Masters in a moment. I want to roll it back a little bit. What were you doing with the summer camp stuff?
Okay, so in the summer camp, so this company I used to work for was called Playwell Technology. They actually still exist in California. And I was working with them. I was kind of moving up the chain. So I started to move into the position of being an instructor, because a lot of my classes, I would be given the curriculum on how to teach whatever the project was, but I hated their storytelling. Like, they weren't really good in storytelling. They're really good at engineering, and explaining that aspect. But I was more driven when it came to story, like just storytelling, because I went to school for art, so I always have that imaginative mind. So I said, okay, I started to create mini programs within the program. So a lot of my classes were sold out. So this particular summer, we were doing Minecraft versus video games. So
Oh,
we did, the kids had to build Minecraft characters and they had to fight against superheroes. So I had
oh,
little minifigs, superheroes, and they had to tell the story. So one day it was a racing challenge. So they had to build race cars. They had to challenge each other. And the next day they had to build towers. The next day they had to build some other thing. And the kids had to build catapults. And I built a giant Super Mario character. I actually, it's in the background there, but it's in one of my tubs. And
yeah.
I had built it for the kids, and they had to use their catapults to knock it down. So they had to take tires, use catapults, try to knock down Mario. So that was the picture that I took, and that was the video that I took and put on Instagram, and that's how Lego Masters found me through that. But
Okay.
yeah,
So this is going to sound really odd and out of left field because this is when I saw you on Lego Masters. I'm like, he looks really familiar, and I'm like, and I think it was Playwell was the company because you were at Maker Faire, New York with them, weren't you?
Yes.
In the 2010s.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where I've thought about over the years, and I keep forgetting whenever I see you at like Lego conventions. So I did meet you before you were on the show.
Yeah, you probably did. I did a lot of we went to a lot of events. Me and my boss, because I think we were the only two. I think it was about three of us, but we were like three or four of us in the tri-state area. So any type of like Lego related event, convention, toy, like we were there and we had our booth set up and we were just like, I was just going with the flow. I didn't know what I was doing or what we were supposed to do. So neither did my boss. So I was always very approachable. Like people would always come up to me and I would always interact. And my boss would be the kind of introvert, but he was really good at all the Lego stuff and all the business stuff. So that was just our dynamic. Like I was the front person, he was the guy in the back. So that's kind of how we rolled.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that small world.
I recalled you and a woman being there for Playwell because I was there with my lug because I've always been a big proponent of STEM because I'm a nerd, I'm a computer programmer, I'm a Lego person. So I always got the lug out there. I love New York. And, I just remembered Playwell because I remember talking to people there about engineering and whatever and Lego.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and when I saw you on the show, I'm like, it looks so familiar.
Wow.
So
it wasn't my boss. It was another person that was there longer than me. So she was kind of like the assistant manager, so to speak. So I would do events with her too. So yeah.
That's so funny.
Wow, look at that small world. That's cool.
So yeah, so you put all of this online and Lego Masters finds you.
Yeah. It was kind of a shock because I never heard of Lego Masters before. At that time, we were the first season, so we're the pilot season. The only other countries that did Lego Masters before us was the UK and Australia. And Australia was currently, I think they were filming around that time. When they reached out to me in 2019. They wrapped filming and they started putting out their advertisements for the show, but the show didn't air until we were filming our season. So we didn't have any reference point of what Lego Masters was because nothing was really online. So when they reached out, I sent it to spam because around that time I was getting a lot of spam because I was really into Comic-Con and I was always trying to put in stuff for Comic-Con like cosplay and stuff like that. So I would always get these scam emails and stuff. So I was very hesitant. So when I saw that Lego Masters and I'm posting Lego content, I'm like, oh no, this is definitely fake. And they sent an email literally the next day. different verbiage. So sometimes you could look at the message and then you look at the emails, the same verbiage. It's like, no, I'm just dismissing the whole thing. But in this case, it was the same body as far as content, but it was written differently. It seemed more genuine, and the person left their signature. And I looked it up. I was like, oh, this is a real person. This is a real opportunity. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
because that's how they were recruiting for the first season. They were literally
Yes.
like just searching everybody online. You have a Flickr, you have an Instagram, you have a
Yep.
Facebook. They were finding you.
Yes. Yes. And there were some people who applied because they went to the conventions, and they would go to the conventions and let people know, hey, this show idea. And some people were, in the community, so they knew about Lego Masters in Australia. I was not part of the community like that. I didn't even go to conventions before then. I would go to a convention to purchase bulk bags of like bulk pieces, because I didn't even know. I kind of knew about Bricklink. I used it seldom, and Brick Owl. I used that seldom, so I wasn't really engulfed in everything. But once Lego Masters started, that was when everything became exposed to me, so to speak.
Yeah, and because I recall them being at Brick Fair in 2019 when they were starting to look for
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
and they recruited quite a few, or they tried to recruit quite a few people from there, from online, from the different conventions, but they found you and the other, what is it, 10 teams, so 20 people.
Yep. 10 teams, 10 teams total, 20 people. Yep.
And because I had seen a little bit of the UK one at that point, and I was like, interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in New York.
Exactly.
Not New York. So how did you prepare to be on the show? Because there was no reference except for the UK show.
None. So when me and my brother went to when we went to the actual audition, and we were sitting in the room, and there were all these other builders, we had an idea. I watch a lot of reality TV shows, like game shows and like competition shows. So Master Chefs is like my favorite out of all of them. I love Gordon Ramsay. I always wanted to be on there just for him to scream at me, and I could kind of scream back, just to see how far I could take it. Because I was always like, as a kid, I hated authority. So I would always, like, if you're not my parents or my grandmother, there's nothing you can do to me. So that was my mentality. But I was always mentally in that mindset, like, okay, we're gonna get judges, they're gonna come over, they're gonna critique our work, and we got to give it back and stuff like that. And so me and my brother, we were always very animated growing up. Whenever we would do like school plays, we would do like church plays, and we would always be like the go-to guys. Like if someone was scared to do something, me and my brother would do it, because we were fearless when it came to. We didn't have stage fright or anything like that. We were ready. So for me and my brother, we was like, okay, looking around the room, I'm seeing a few builds. I didn't know who anyone was, with the exception of like a few people that I met through Playwell that was there.
Uh-huh.
I said, okay, we're not going to compete with these guys building, because we only built as kids and a little bit as adults. I work in the field, but I don't creatively build. And my brother hasn't picked up Lego from that point a couple of years. So we said, okay, the one thing they're not going to be able to match us with is our charisma. So we had the blazers on. We looked sharp. We said, okay, this is our gimmick. We're sharp dressed brothers from Jersey, and we're big nerds. So it's a big contradiction already. So let's roll with that. And we did good building. We could put things together. It looks decent. And when we sat down for the actual mock interviews, we just threw everything to the wall, and we just said, all right, we're just gonna go in, we're just gonna blow their socks off. So we just went in and just started cracking jokes and started saying this stuff, that stuff, playing to the camera, playing to ourselves. Like once we were in that atmosphere, we kind of just rolled with everything, and they really enjoyed it. So that's what got us on the show. It's really our personalities that got us on the show. And I come to find out that that's mainly what they look for when it comes to excuse me, Lego Masters. Yeah, building is one thing, but your personality, that's what people is going to remember. They'll remember your builds, yeah, but if your personality doesn't match that, it's not going to connect with people. So, uh, that's what I saw it as.
Yeah, the shy, quiet guy just doesn't really come across on TV.
Yeah, they're going to force you to get out that shell.
Yeah, or at least you have to have, if there's somebody like that, you at least have to have somebody really flamboyant to balance
Yes,
it and
yes,
be
yes,
the voice of a team.
yes. Crazy enough, like me and my brother, we took turns being that guy. Like the first episode, I was the shy guy and my brother was more out there. The second episode, I was more out there. My brother was more the shy guy. And then the third episode, we just kind of went back and forth.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So then, how did you prepare for the challenges, or did you just kind of wing it because you didn't know what to expect?
Well, for the challenges, we actually prepared. So when we came back from auditions, we had maybe about 2 weeks or so before we were called in to do the show. So I told my brother, I said, hey, we may not get called, we may get called. So let me help you get you up to speed. So I had basic understanding of how to build strong structures because that's what I was teaching my kids. And I understood how to use motors. I understood how to use gears. So we brought Technic sets and I used my teaching kit. So that's what me and my brother did. So he will come to my house and I'm saying, all right, today we're just going to learn how to overlap and build tall structures. So we would just sit there and build tall structures. I said, okay, today I'm going to teach you how to build a pullback car. So I'm teaching my brother the stuff that I already learned as an instructor. I'm teaching him and we're like, all right, how can we change the story here? And we would just do that. So we did that a couple of times and we said, okay, well, this is as much as we're going to be able to prepare because we just don't know what to expect. Like we literally thought we would be getting sets. Like they will be giving us sets and say, okay, we want you to build, this is the theme, here's your set. And we would just build like that. We had no idea that we were going to be walking into a brick pit with millions of pieces and all right, build something. So we had no idea. But that's how we approached it. We just I just taught him as if he was one of my students.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's every kid's dream to walk into a brick pit like that with
Yeah.
every
Oh,
piece
yeah.
imaginable.
So behind the scenes, when the first episode, when we all walked out, we took that take about 3 times. So we walked in because when we first got on set, the studio wasn't built. Like we
really?
just saw like different panels that were there. We saw different stuff around, but we didn't see like they only had one corner, like the steps and that little corner right there with the minifig wall. The minifigs weren't even on the wall yet, but we
No.
saw the steps and we were like, okay, like this. So because that's where we all took our hero shots, is what they call it.
Yeah.
And we took all of our shots there, and then we went back, and then the next day we came out, and then we saw everything, and we saw all the pieces, and nobody was paying attention to the camera. We didn't pay attention to the director. We were just in awe. Like we're like that, and then like, all right, guys, we love your reactions, but we kind of need you guys to interact a little bit with the camera, interact with each other, because everybody's mouths are just open, like, oh my gosh, we can't believe we made it, and some of us are crying and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, it's all good, guys, but let's try to do it. Let's bring it back. Let's do this right. So we did it twice before we got it right.
And then they used that footage for something else later in the show when they just
they did.
Shots.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So which was your favorite challenge to tackle?
From the first season, my favorite challenge was our second challenge. So that was the Space Smash challenge. So I'm a huge fan of space. I studied astronomy a little bit in school for an elective, and I would go to planetariums. I had a telescope at one time. I would track certain stars and track certain objects in space. So I was really into space. So when we were doing a Space Smash challenge, obviously the challenge of Will Arnett smashing different things, but we had to focus on space. I was
Yeah.
more interested in the space aspect of it and try to bring my knowledge of space into the build. So ours was the one where Will had to drop it from the top of the clock, and it's going to hit this crater. So my idea was, okay, let's build something that when it smashes, it looks like the God's Eye Nebula. Now this nebula it looks like an eyeball pretty much. It like has a retina and all that stuff. And I said, let's build it in a way that one, they can see what's going on inside. We could tell the story inside. And when Will drops it, it will look like a nebula. So we said, okay, we're going to build a planet. We're going to leave half of it open. We're going to build a very bright yellow orange core that we just put it together, snot bricks, and then make the entire planet green. And we were telling a very interesting story in the middle. My brother added the clock to put it there to say it's doomsday. The planet is about to explode, and the Earthlings came to save the aliens, but is about to drop out of orbit. That was our story. And once we got to Will, we gave it to Will. Will dropped it, and he smashed it, and it looked just like the God's Eye Nebula. Like the green pieces were scattered, and then the yellow was just big and bright in the center. And they didn't put it on air, but I kept mentioning that during them checking in with us, and they even said like, oh wow, it does resemble that God's Eye Nebula that he was talking about. It looks like an eyeball looking at us. And I was like, yes. And it never made air. So I was like, dang, I wish they hadn't acknowledged the fact that I was doing it. But the focus was on so many different teams. It was hard to really get everything in. It was just 1 hour. So
yeah, and it's a little nerdy for the general public.
Yeah, it is.
I appreciate it, but just like middle America, kind of thing, which is what they always say. It's like, does somebody in middle America, will they watch that? And
exactly,
there's a reason why Lego Masters on Fox and Cosmos was on PBS.
Pretty much. That's very true. Actually, that's very true. But we've evolved over time, I guess.
True. So once Lego Masters was done, how did you kind of apply it to your STEM teachings going forward?
So interestingly enough, when we finish recording everything, February, I remember February 5th, that was when our season aired. 2020, literally the next week. It was sorry, not the next week. I would say maybe 2.5 weeks after that, we got the notice that everything is shutting down, lockdown is in place, COVID hits. Yeah. So my job was now done because Playwell's in California. We were in the East Coast. They shut down all operations on the East Coast, shut down all operations nationwide because all of our stuff is after school. So there's no schools open. There's no sense. So and they didn't really pivot to virtual learning right away. So I was sitting there and I said, okay, well, I need to work. I need to have a family to take care of. So my son didn't come in to the picture yet, but my wife was pregnant at the time. So I said, okay, we need to. I need to, find something to do. So I was doing Uber for a little bit and stuff like that. And then I said to myself, okay, it doesn't look like these schools are going to be opening anytime soon. It doesn't look like Playwell is going to call me back. And then I got an email from them saying, yeah, we're just going to, cancel out your contract with us because we don't know what the future holds. I said, okay, cool. And I sat and I said, you know what? They're not doing virtual stuff. At the time, I was doing a lot of live streams. So I was getting really comfortable talking on camera. I had a YouTube channel at the time too. So I had the setup, I had the lighting, I had all that stuff. I said, okay, well, why don't I just try to do virtual classes? And my pitch was learn from a Lego master, and that's what I did. I reached out to all the schools I used to teach at. I reached out to different people online, just letting them know, hey, your kid is at home, they're making you go crazy. I have the perfect idea. I'm starting a virtual STEM Lego STEM class. That's how I pitched it, and I just put it out there to see what people will say, people see what people want, and people reached out. They said, "Hey, can you do classes at this time? Can you do classes at this time?" So I created a schedule for myself. I did morning classes, I did afternoon classes, I did evening classes, and I started getting a lot of kids coming in. And then I started getting more kids from overseas. I started getting companies reaching out like, "Hey, we, one of our clients did a class with you and they enjoyed it. Would you be able to do this for our base, our fan base or whatever?" I said, "Yeah." We discussed numbers and stuff, and it started to take off. So I said, "Okay, I can do this by myself. I don't need to be attached to a business." And at the time, Lego was very hands off on Lego Masters, so they weren't really creating opportunities for us to do stuff with them. So I started an LLC. I already had a business name, Sam's Brego, that was already set up with Etsy. I was selling my lapel pins, my Bregos. So I was using that. So I said, okay, I'll just start an LLC under Sam's Brego, and that would be for my educational services. And I started that, started doing those educational services, and it took off. And then within a year, when the schools started to open up, the schools reached out and said, "Hey, are you working with the other company? Because they haven't reached out to us." I said, "No, I run my own company and I have a full teaching kit, and let's talk business, let's talk shop." So we started talking shop. We discussed, all right, how many weeks you want to work? I said, these are the amount of weeks. This is the time frame. This is the cost for each kid. And it worked. And it started to pick up from there. So I actually got to do exactly what I wanted to do when I was working at Playwell. Because even though I was really into the engineering portion of it, the storytelling was more vital for me, because I noticed that kids retain more information when they're engulfed in the story. So they'll learn how to build stuff, but in the course of a story, they'll retain that in the future, because then they'll watch something and they'll spark that. "Oh, I remember that story I created. Oh yeah, I remember when I built this triple force," or something like that. So it would always trigger something to them. So that was kind of my philosophy, and I just took that and I ran with it.
Built this into your whole own industry, basically.
Yes,
that's great.
Yes.
Taking the opportunity. I mean, pandemic created a lot of opportunities for people in different ways. Mm-hmm. So it's great that you were able to like hit the ground running based on what you were doing then, thanks to Lego Masters. And, it put your name out there so that, when you came back and Playwell wasn't there, you're now learned from a Lego Master.
Yes. That was the entire pitch. I used to work at a company for like 11 years, and I moved up the chain, and I worked as a business analyst for the CEO. So I was really up there, and I really wanted to grow with the company, and they ended up outsourcing my entire department. So they sent it over to India, and I asked them, "Hey, move me into another department. I want to stay with the company." They said, "Sorry, Corey, based on what you make, how your tenure, we're gonna have to cut you loose. Here's your severance." And that really stuck in my craw, because it's like I did all this work, and I made sure I was marketable. I went to school during that time, so I got my degrees and stuff, and they still let me go. I said, okay, I never want this to happen to me again. So and then the pandemic just solidified that decision, like, okay, I'm never going to work for another person again. At least not like a 9 to 5. I'll do like a contract, or I'll do like a temporary thing, but never to say like, "All right, you're my boss." I'm always going to be my own boss going forward. So that was my mentality, and I just stick to that and just stay driven on that.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with corporations. They just want the bottom line. They don't care about people, especially the larger corporations. You're just a number. So it makes sense to be able to be the one in control of the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I kept telling myself. If I quit, that's me saying, all right, I'm done doing this. I'm going to do something else.
Exactly.
So,
Has anyone ever said anything about you using the Lego Masters name in marketing yourself?
surprisingly, no. So Lego always told us, well, Lego Masters always told us, the winner of Lego Masters is considered the Lego Master. Out of our season, we are known as Lego Master contestants. So they said if you want to use it, you're free to use it. Just make sure, in your case, Corey, you're a Lego Master contestant. You're not a Lego Master. And as much as I try to, emphasize that, people will still advertise, hey, Lego Master Corey, or Lego. If they do like Lego Masters Corey, then that's fine. But it was kind of hard for people to not do that, but I would always like emphasize like, hey, I'm a Lego Master contestant. I'm not the Lego Master yet. That came later on when I won. So,
but yeah, I mean, honestly, whenever I see any of you guys advertised anywhere, it never says contestant. It literally says either from Lego Masters or Lego Master, and then their name.
Yeah. Like they're not really. Lego Master really is not strict on that. I mean, they told us that's what it is, so we kind of know that. But I mean, it's hard to really mitigate that. So
as long as they're not being litigious about it, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, exactly. At least not now. Like it's 5 seasons in, so I think they're good.
Yeah, I think they would have said something, 5 years ago to somebody.
Exactly.
We're looking at season 6 later this year, and
exactly.
No.
I would say this though. So I had the unique opportunity, and I think I'm to this date. I think I'm still myself and 4 other Lego Masters are the only ones that's been on another TV show that's Lego building, so to speak. So we had an opportunity in 2020 when our show aired. Later on that year, the Food Network reached out to me, and they said, "Hey, we have this idea for Buddy versus Christmas, Buddy Velastro, the cake boss. We want to get different local people to compete, and we're reaching out to you because we see that you was on Lego Masters and you're from New Jersey, and his studio's in Hoboken, Jersey. So they were like, hey, do you think you're interested in doing this show? I was like, yes, absolutely. So told them, yeah, I want to do the show. They said you need 4 other people as a teams of 5. I reached out to all the local Lego Masters that was on the show with me because I figured it would be really cool for Lego Masters to go up against Buddy versus, Buddy. So we didn't think nothing of it, but there is a clause in our contract that says there's no compete. So we couldn't go on another competition show, like Lego competition show. But in this case, we said, all right, well, this is technically not a Lego competition. Maybe we can get away with it. So we reached out to we have like a liaisons. So someone who represents the entire cast. So we reached out to them and I said, hey, I have this opportunity to do this show. It's for charity. We're not winning any monetary money. We're just there to build and be a part of the show. And they said, okay, let me reach out to the network. Let me see what they say. Network said, we need to reach out to Food Network to get more information. So the 2 networks were talking with each other while we were just kind of sitting in limbo, like, are we on the show? Are we not on the show? And they came back and they said, okay, guys, this is what we were told by Enteral Shine, Fox Network, and Lego. So Lego Denmark got involved. And they said, okay, we could do the show. You can, obviously your names, you can use your names. You cannot use the word Lego. You cannot use the word Lego Master. You cannot say you were on Lego Master. You are brick artists from New Jersey. And I said, all right, I get that. Logistically, I get that. That's how networks work. IP, I get it. I said, but that's kind of stupid because nobody is out right now. So everybody's binge watching Lego Masters. So if they see Lego Masters on a different network, they're going to connect it automatically. We're not 2 different people. So I said, okay, whatever you guys got to say, we just wanted to do the show. So we ended up doing the show. But Lego made sure that was the one time that Lego and Lego Masters said we cannot use anything Lego Masters.
Yeah,
So
that's interesting. You'd think they'd want to use it to advertise the other show.
yeah,
But
but they're rival networks. But
yeah,
then again, one is network television and one is like cable.
cable.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't see what the big deal is, but I don't know. I'm not part of that world, so who knows?
Yeah, it's who knows. Yeah, but I knew that the contracts were gonna be the way that you needed permission to do it.
Yeah, and that became the case for the rest of the seasons to follow.
Yeah.
So they would the contract had the clause, and a lot of other Lego Masters, they didn't get that opportunity. I don't know if any of them actually were approached with an opportunity, but I know some of the teams in Canada, they had opportunities to do stuff, but because they're from Canada, their contract was slightly different because their rules are different in Canada, so they were able to do like other shows and stuff like that.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know how the contracts work in Canada, but I do know U.S. contracts, and
But yeah, they're airtight.
Yeah, and you really don't want to get sued by a company that's a million times larger than you.
Yeah, exactly. That was the one thing they said. If you guys ever do anything to spoil the outcome of the show, like it's like $100K, like that's just entry level, and then whatever is on top of that. For that alone, we were like, okay, we're good. We're not going to say nothing.
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
Yeah, they got the lawyers on retainer. You got
yeah, nothing.
Exactly. So how did you end up coming back to Lego Masters?
All right, so honestly, I kind of don't know because it's like, all right, so you have your fan favorites is what they call them. Yeah. I remember my time on the show. It was very brief. So we were on for like 3 episodes. We came back for the finale, but I think me and my brother, we stood out because of the way we looked. We definitely stood out, and I did my best to continue that trend. My brother really wasn't interested in doing that. He wanted to go back to what he was usually doing, and I was enjoying working for myself, but also having the opportunities to go and do conventions. So one of these conventions, I met the new executive producer for Lego Masters, and she was just super awesome. And we would talk online and stuff like that. And this is around the time when Australia was starting to reach out to other Lego Master shows to bring in people for their episodes. Yeah. So my name was floated around by this executive producer because she follows me. She sees all the cool stuff I'm doing. She's like, you're such a positive influence to the community. Everybody in the community speaks so highly of you, and then the schools, you're doing all these great things with schools. So she was a big fan of me. So I think for that reason, when it came time to all right, who are we going to have on Lego Masters, I feel like she mentioned my name to bring me back on because my story was kind of undone, because when we kind of left building momentum, and then we just fell off the cliff. So I think she wanted me back on for that reason. And, it would be really cool for my students to see their teacher back in that competitive world and on TV. And, that would just help me in the long run. So that's why I think she was more supportive for me to get back on the show. So she definitely helped to get me back on.
That's good. And yeah. You were the second celebrity holiday spectacular or whatever, spectacular?
We were the third. The third. Okay. Yeah. Interestingly enough, when we started to film, they just wrapped up. They just wrapped up season 5, and they just wrapped up Juniors, Lego Masters Juniors, and before season 5 was the other Bricktacular special. So they literally filmed 4 seasons back to back to back. And coming back, it was so interesting because it was different. So from the time we left, it was in California before the pandemic. So we had a little bit more freedom. We couldn't go anywhere during the week, but we could go out during the weekend. So the weekend we can go places. We couldn't go 100 miles away from the hotel, but we did anyway. Um, yeah,
Troublemakers.
exactly. So we set the rules for everybody to follow.
Or have them actually set rules because of you.
Yes, pretty much. But then after that, pandemic hit. So all the other seasons had COVID protocols that they were very strict on. So they couldn't go out. When they were on set, they had like face masks and body covers. And when they were offset, when they were on stage, they were normal and came back off set, back on this. They had to go back to their hotel rooms. They couldn't hang out in the lobby. So they had a lot of restrictions. And then they moved everything to Atlanta. So it was much different. But then when I got back to Atlanta, I saw a few of the old faces from the last time I was there. So maybe about 5 or 6 of them that we remembered. So one of the producers, director, some of our stage handlers. So that was really good to see them, and they remembered me. And it was really cool to just be back in the atmosphere and just, not be someone that they didn't remember. Like, oh man, I kind of remember you. I know you was there for a few episodes, but they remembered who I was and they followed me on social media. So, they were able to keep tabs on what I was doing. So that was really cool. Just being able to be back and not be forgotten. So that was my biggest fear, being on season 1. Like, you'll get forgotten or lost in the shuffle. So I was happy not to be that.
That's good. And how did the celebrities take to being part of the Lego thing?
Very interesting. So, all right. So the 4 celebrities, Eric McCormick, Little Rel Howery, Sophia Bush, my partner, and Holly Robinson Pete. Uh-huh. So they were very excited the first day because they did their entrances and they were building. By day 2, some of them were like, I'm done. Like, this is hard work. Like, I thought I was just gonna be here to crack jokes with Will and kind of just be standing around doing stuff, maybe put a piece or 2 here. No, we were having them work.
Oh yeah.
And Sophia Bush, she was amazing. Like, she was more invested in the process and in the show than I mean, not more than me, but like than other people. Like, she was the first on set, and the celebrities had to stick around for like maybe 2-3 hours. That's like they're in their contract, and then they'll go back to their rooms or whatever. I don't touch that. And she was always there until I had to get on break. Like, she would be like, no, I want to stay here until Corey has to go. They're like, well, Sophia, as part of the contract, you got to go back. It's not fair to the other, the others. She's like, okay, and they can stay. I want to stay. I want to work. But it was really cool being able to just work with her. She's just an incredible person. She had great ideas. So a lot of the ideas that I had, she took it and she made it, I guess, more streamlined, which was really, really cool of her to do. Because sometimes we as builders, we're always building together, but then our ideas always clashing. And one person thinks they have a better idea than the other. She was like, okay, well, I like your idea, but what if we did this with your idea? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that. Yeah. So
she was a collaborative partner and really into it. That's really cool.
Very much so. She was very collaborative. She was very into it. It was awesome.
That's great. And then, of course, you took home the big blue trophy.
Yes, I did. That was so that final build. It was really good, man. Because after the 3rd challenge, we got into first place, but we shared the first place with 3 other people, and then Aaron ultimately won because that fire hydrant was just amazing. And I remember Sophia got back. She was like, "Man, this sucks." Like, I'm like, no, it's okay. Like we got really close. Like, we're getting there. We're getting there. She was like, "Yeah, but this is the last episode. This is the last challenge." I said, "Don't worry. I'm sure it's going to be a challenge that we're going to nail." And I'm always Mr. Optimistic. That's always me. Glass is half full. That's me. So when they told us what the bill was going to be, I had the idea, and I was like, and she was like, she looked at my face. She was like, what? Tell me. I'm like, Sophia, get in the passenger seat. I got this. Like, I know exactly what we're gonna do. So I told her, listen, we're doing a pop-up book. Her charity was a library, a rainbow library. My son loves pop-up books. Her godson loves pop-up books. I'm like, we're gonna dedicate this to our sons. All right.
Nice.
Now, I said, all right, this is how I want the pop-up book to look. I want it to look like an old book with the pages, and I want the features that are popping up. I'm going to build all of the mechanics underneath. I want to showcase my engineering skills that I learned, working with Playwell and just teaching and learning myself. And then all of the other objects I had her build. So I said, all right, you see this house? I built like a little small cottage. I'm like, I want you to build this right now. And she went to there and just started building. I said, okay, great. I went to everybody. I said, hey, are you using your gingerbread men? They're like, no, we're not using them. I took everybody's gingerbread men. I'm like, this is a gingerbread village. I sculpted my son as the tiger. The hot air balloon, sculpted the hot air balloon. It gave me some problems because it was heavy. Because at first it was going to be me and my son in the hot air balloon, but the hot air balloon itself was really, really hard. It was plated, so it was very heavy. And the machine that I had to do it's a gear and it's a pulley, and it's going like this. So it's giving you that motion. So the weight was like bringing it down. It was hard for it to like pull it up.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, if I add a second motor, would that work? But it wouldn't work. I had to stabilize the main, fulcrum on it. So I was like, okay. Started doing that. And then once that came together, I put the hot air balloon on and it was able to move it and it was stable. I said, all right, moment of truth, put my son on there and it was able to move up and down with him. And I was like, oh, perfect. We're great. And everything else just fell into place. Once I looked around the room, I saw everybody. I was like, okay, I don't want to like, go into cruise control, but I said, yeah, I don't see anybody having a better story than us. And Sophia, she was right on board. She was like, and she had to write the story. So she was all over it. She was like, yeah, I already know what story. I already know how to tell the story. I'm going to create it and write it beautifully. We got this in the bag. And sure enough, we won. So that was a moment. That was a moment in time for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And now you have it, on display for all to see and at home.
Well, not necessarily.
Oh, no.
It's actually it's actually in here.
Oh, you still keep it in the Pelican case.
Yes. So as you can see, my son is very active. So
Yes.
something like that, shiny, it's kind of in the open. I said, all right, we're hopefully relocating, moving very soon. He's about to start kindergarten in September, so I'm hoping to kind of move into a bigger home. And once I do that and I have a dedicated Lego space, then I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So, as a STEM teacher, I kind of want to ask your opinion on some news from last week with the first Lego League coming to an end.
Yes.
And what do you think of that?
So, I have a lot of thoughts when it comes to that. I have a lot of thoughts. when I first saw that, I was very sad, and the reasoning for it. Um, but in a way, I do understand if I'm looking at it from a business perspective. Um, Lego League is it's very expensive to do. It's expensive to purchase the machines, to purchase the Lego, to register. It's a lot of money, and a lot of schools lost a lot of funding over the last few years, so they don't have the funding to support it. And sometimes the community will chip in. Other communities don't see the benefit in it. So for that reason, they don't chip in. And when Lego looks at it, like from a business perspective, I mean, we're losing money keeping this around. Do we really need something like this? Can we substitute it with something else? So from that perspective, I get it. Um, as a STEM educator, I think that this is terrible for kids. Um,
Yeah.
Now, First League, I mean, it's really good for middle school kids. Middle school kids, they enroll in it and they're able to build machines and robots using different material. But the younger kids, the kids that have that passion and have that drive, Lego League was a great fundamental entry level into robotics because they're building with stuff that they build with all the time, which is Lego. A lot of my classes, I did a lot of classes that kind of focused on robotics. I called them battle bots. And I would teach the kids how to build a battle bot, how to weaponize it, how to code it, and how to drive it. And they would do all that stuff. And these are first grade, second grade, third graders. And at the end of our session, the parents are like, "Oh my goodness, how can we, excuse me, how can we continue this for our kid?" And I would automatically tell them, "Oh, First Lego League. Here's the
Yeah.
website. This is your local chapter. You know, reach out to these folks. I had numbers for people in different places. Reach out to them and be a part of it. Because this is what they're going to teach them, and they could take this even further. Now I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm really bummed by that news. I thought it was a great way of kids introducing them to the world of robotics, and you know I'm hoping that Lego finds something else to substitute it, maybe start their own and not be a part of First League. But it doesn't seem like they're doing that.
They announced that there is going to be a new program after. So this is 26, 27 is the final season. 27,
Uh-huh.
28, they said there's something coming. They haven't announced what yet. But I
Yeah.
think so. Lego has been kind of downsizing Mindstorms in general over the last few years.
Hmm.
And I think the strongest part of First, as opposed to doing their own, is that they start with the Lego, but they can graduate to the bigger robots and the more advanced programming.
Right.
Whereas if it's Lego specific, I don't know what the path is from there for
Yeah.
growth. Like
Right.
it's great for Lego and for Lego building and Lego programming and design, but as they've kind of been scaling differently, I don't know where it can lead to.
Yeah, that's the part that I scratch my head. Like the powered up components, they no
Yeah.
longer are selling the motors and the remote controls and everything. I remember when I heard that a couple years ago, I went to every Lego store I possibly could, and I just bought up all their stock because that's what I'm doing with my students. Because they we don't have anything else as a substitute right now through Lego, unless you get a Lego education kit, and that's like five something. So it's like, you know, can't do that. We don't have the budget for that. But if I get a motor, a remote control, and a battery hub, I can literally just have them create their own. I have all the material, but yeah, that's the one thing. I'm gonna leave optimism that Lego has a plan. I know a lot
Mhm.
of the folks over at Lego Education in Denmark, and I know their background, some of their background. So I feel like they may have something that will incorporate other programs, not just First League, but it's hard to tell. So
Yeah. We won't know for a year what the real plan is, but I'm
Yeah,
hoping it's something that will help kids like graduate and move forward beyond just Lego because they've discontinued everything. Spike is the last thing left. They're
yeah,
supposed to be doing some sort of new AI program that's going to be replacing that. Which even with the first when that was announced, the schools were like, "Well, you're not allowed to use Spike, but you got to use this AI thing, and we can't afford that."
yeah,
So I think we
exactly.
were already seeing this before the first announcement was
Yeah,
happening. So
that's
we'll see where that goes.
I mean, I don't know the smart brick. I mean, they have that, but that's not even like that's not. Yeah,
I like the smart brick right now. It's a toy. If we can
yeah,
hack it, if we can make it do more, that's cool.
yeah,
I'm bullish on the smart brick. I still like it. It makes fun noises and interactivity, but
yeah.
it's not programming. It's not STEM,
Right,
and that's kind of why like I want to hack it and I want to turn it into that. But people are trying to do that, but that's not the same thing as like Mindstorms.
right.
And I think it's an
It's
introduction,
vital.
but it's not STEM yet.
Right, right. Because all of that was basic. It was basic fundamentals when it comes
Yeah.
to like understanding the next stage of robotics, in coding, and understanding how to put a what you call it, but like how to put that all together and make it move and stuff like that. Like I don't know. It's we have to wait and see. But
Yeah.
I am pretty bummed about the news. I know a lot of people who's part of that, so I don't know what they're going to do after next year's season.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're not going to leave this on a down note. So let's give us some tip or a piece of advice for anybody who wants to use Lego for STEM.
Okay. Um, what I would tell you is that Lego is the most creative, versatile toy in the world. There, you could start with a piece of brick, and it could turn into a masterpiece. What I always do for my students, and I always ask them what they're interested in. I have students who are interested in cars. Lego can be used to teach them how cars work. Uh, you could get a pullback motor. You could teach them about velocity. You can buy motors and remote controls and teach them about gear ratios and how gears can be used as transmissions. You could talk to them about friction and what kind of wheels to use for certain things. If you want something big to move slow, get big wheels. If you want something to go fast, get these smaller wheels, stuff like that. Like all of these are just introductory levels to what they can possibly do in the future. And let's say that they're not into cars, let's say they're into architecture. Lego has architecture sets. You could start off with teaching them overlapping and how to build arch bridge systems and stuff like that, and how to test that by putting books on top of it. I did a whole class virtually of teaching them how to build bridges, and they just found random objects from their house to put on the bridge just to test its strength. So Lego is one way that kids can learn STEM in such a fun and creative process. I've had students who have had classes with me, and they went home and worked on stuff that we did in class and teaching their family, and their parents would come back to me and say, "Hey, thank you so much. My son taught me about such and such. My daughter showed me this and this, and they said they learned it in your class. And all I thought they did was put Lego together for an hour and that's it." I said, "No, they're learning all different types of stuff. This is all introductory stuff to when they get to junior high or whatever, or middle school, and they're like, you know what, I was really into this growing up. I want to go into this career path, because at the end of the day, everything might be automative. So we still need folks who's good with their hands. So this is a way for them to be that.
Oh yeah, no, I always say that Lego is great because it teaches math, architecture, engineering, all these
Hmm.
skills, and it takes them away from screens.
Yes,
So
that's the major thing. That's the major thing. That's why sometimes the coding is fine until they start to like wander.
well,
But I always use the coding as an aspect of engaging one particular thing on whatever they're building. So I'm like, all right, you're only using this screen for this one thing, and then go back to your remote control so you can physically move it. So yeah, I always try to keep them limit their time on the screen.
Of course. Well,
Yeah.
if people want to learn more about STEM from you, if they want to see more Lego Masters content, where can they find you online?
Oh, you can find me anywhere on all social media platforms. Sam's Brego, SAMZ Brego, BREGO. And this is just well, not between us, but Sam's, because people will ask, like, why Sam's? Like, your name is Corey Samuels. Sam's is a name that was given to me in high school because I slept in all of my classes. I slept in all my classes. And there was a very popular movie that came out in the 80s with Morgan Freeman called Lean on Me. And one of the kids was named Sam's, and he was such a bad kid, but he changed his life and everything like that. And my friends used to always call me that, even though me and the character has nothing in common, but they always used to call me Sam. So that's why I have the name Sam's in front of the word Brego.
All right.
But that's where you can find me everywhere.
All right. We'll look for you there. Well, thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me.
And if you want to subscribe to Tales from the Brick, you can find it on all your favorite podcast players. It's on the 8-Bit Bricks YouTube channel. And if you want to save money on Lego, check out the Bargain Bricks app. It's on iOS, Android, and the web. Until next time, play well.